Have you ever had an experience in your life where someone else has seen potential in you that you were not ready to see in yourself? Have you ever had the experience in your life where you've wanted to do something, that you've considered doing something that you know is going to be exciting and joyful and transformational, but you stop yourself because you're not quite ready yet? Have you ever had the experience of knowing that your life is going along normally, shouldn't have anything to complain about, but that at some level you are beginning to feel depleted? The story of Jesus' first miracle, which is the changing of water into wine, may not seem to have any relevance to the questions that I just asked. And I believe that they actually do. And so I want to share with you some thoughts that I had about this first miracle of Jesus. For the last few weeks, we've been looking at stories about Jesus and stories told by Jesus. And this, his very first miracle, at first glance seems to be just a lovely story about a wedding at which the wine runs out and he provides more wine. And of course, we find as we dig deeper into the story that there are lessons in that story that can apply to us today. Jesus turns water into wine. Not just any wine, but fine wine. I'll read the story to you. It comes from the Gospel of John. Pardon me. And unlike the other stories that we've told, which have mainly been in the synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, we don't find this story in those Gospels. We find them in the book of John. And we find the story, chapter 2, right after he is recognized by John the Baptist, and right after he begins to collect disciples who follow him, very early in his ministry. So I read to you from the New Revised Standard Version, John chapter 2, beginning at the 2nd verse. On the 3rd day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. And when the wine gave out, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what concern is that to you and to me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Do whatever he tells you." Now standing there were 6 stone jars for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. Jesus said to them, "Fill the jars with water." And they filled them up to the brim. He said to them, "Now draw some out and take it to the chief steward." So they took it. When the steward tasted the water that had become wine and did not know where it had come from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the steward called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves the good wine first, and then the inferior wine after the guests have become drunk. But you have kept the good wine until now." Jesus did this, the first of his signs, in Cana of Galilee, and revealed his glory, and the disciples believed him. After this, he went down to Capernaum with his mother, his brothers, and his disciples, and they remained there a few days. So what we see in this story is Mary, Jesus' mother, apparently already at this wedding, and Jesus and his disciples and his brothers are invited guests. And have you ever been to a party where everybody's having an amazing time, and all of a sudden it seems that the wine is starting to run out? So then what Mary does is she goes to Jesus and she makes that observation. She says, "Hey, the wine is running out." And Jesus, he seems to push back a little bit. It's kind of not my business. It's not my time. And Mary doesn't do anything to Jesus. Instead, what she does is she goes to the servants and she says, "Do whatever he tells you." And then Jesus goes to the servants and directs them to pour water into these 6 massive jars. And then he doesn't really do much of anything except wait until they're filled and then instruct the servants to take the now wine to the wine steward. And then we see the wine steward amazed at the flavor and the quality of this wine. He's never seen this before. It's not the way it normally happens. And so he comments on the uniqueness of this approach. Most people serve the best wine first, but you have held that best wine until now. And obviously the party continues. And then the family and friends all move to another town the following day. And if we were to examine this story from a purely literal point of view, we could learn a few things about Jesus, about his mother, and about his community, just from a purely literal point of view. It seems pretty clear that they were actively part of their community, that they were active participants in the celebrations of the people around them. It appears that Mary had some level of authority in this story. She was there. Jesus is noted as an invited guest. Mary is the one who goes and speaks to the servants and gives them direction, permission to listen to what Jesus says. That tells me that Mary had some standing in their community. Mary and Jesus themselves show a remarkable relationship in this story. A relationship based on trust. Mary goes to Jesus and says, "Hey, we've got a problem. There is no wine." She doesn't tell him what to do. She trusts that he will do what is necessary. And Jesus, for his part, is willing to listen to his mom. Oh, wouldn't we all be so lucky? Actually, yeah, my son is wonderful. He actually does listen to his mom most of the time. But I know that's not true for everyone. And how wonderful that they had this relationship in which she felt comfortable coming to him, and he felt comfortable saying, I'm not sure, it's not my time. And then still, he was willing to consider what she was saying. Mary knew that Jesus could offer something special. She knew that he had a gift to offer that would transform the experience of the people there. And still, she didn't force it. What she did do, however, was make room for Jesus to make his own decision, and she laid the foundation for his success by letting the servants know to pay attention to anything he said. There's some powerful symbolism in that story. We can start with Mary. Mary could have accepted the status quo. She could have said, oh well, there's no wine, but everybody's had enough, so it's time for them all to go home anyway. She could have had a freak out. Oh my goodness, there's not enough wine. Who messed up? What should we do? Oh my gosh. Who can I blame? She could have created a scene, and she did none of those things. Instead, what Mary did in what could have been a crisis situation, no wine at a wedding celebration. Instead, what Mary did was stay calm and decide to take some action. Then, rather than forcing the situation, she merely observes it. She goes and offers Jesus the opportunity to act. But notice that she does not become self-absorbed in that. How often are we in that situation? She didn't nag him. She didn't come back to him and say, well, did you make a decision yet? Have you done it? Have you done it? I know you can. I know you should. And then Mary sets Jesus up to succeed. So she takes action, she observes and offers an opportunity to correct a situation. And then she creates a foundation so that the success can be made. We can be like Mary. In our outer world, when things seem like maybe this is okay and it could be a little bit better, are we willing to stay calm? Are we willing to go and get help? Offer a suggestion? And then not be attached to the outcome. Mary knew where she ended and where Jesus began. In many ways, she stayed in her own lane. She didn't nag him. She didn't push. She allowed. And then we see Jesus, probably hanging out with his buddies at the party, just like we've all done at weddings and other celebrations. And his mom comes to him and says, "Hey, there's no wine's running out." And Jesus' first reaction is, "I'm not ready. I'm not ready to step up. My journey has not yet begun." And Mary walks away and goes and prepares in trust for Jesus to come and do what he actually is ready to do. And Jesus likely kind of carried on for a few minutes and then thought, wow, maybe I could do something. And then what do we see him doing? We see him going and asking the servants to do something simple. And then it's not like he holds his hands over those jars. He just knows that the transformation has already happened. And so we see Jesus in this place of being willing to step in to his gift, even though he's not feeling ready. My time has not yet come. But his mother knew. His mother likely had this thought in her head of, if not now, then when? And so, when somebody comes to you and says, I think you're ready for this, then watch how often you might say no and turn away. And invite yourself to step up, to step into your gift, to step into your greatness. Mary kind of represents that loving part of you that says, I long to write a book. I long to go back to school. I long to be a wonderful public speaker. I long to do something great. And Jesus, at this time in his ministry, the very beginning of his ministry, is saying, not yet, not ready. And then the wisdom within him, in collaboration with the wisdom of his loving mother, allows him time to give himself permission to take a step. Are we willing to take the chance? That would be my invitation to you. My invitation to you is to hear other people's votes of confidence in you. And accept it as the truth that you have a unique, transformative gift to offer. And so that's a metaphorical use of the symbolism of the story. We can change water into wine. We can be flavor-filled, joy-filled, add life to the party of life when we activate our gifts. And then we come to the metaphysical part, which is my favorite part. And that word is a big $10 word, and basically what it means is that there are characters and thoughts within us that show up in every story. And so our goal is to take a story and figure out how they show up within us. And so we begin by looking at the wine. Wine represents our life energy. It represents the thing that gives us the juice of enjoyment. And we have some already. We have some already. But when we aren't consciously working to replenish that wine, it can peter out, it can run out. And our party could become dull and lose its sparkle. The wedding, the marriage, is the union of all aspects of ourselves. So that when we know that they're all working together, we get this magnificent oneness that is greater than the sum of the two parts. So whether it's a relationship between our thoughts and our feelings, or our male aspects and our feminine aspects, whether it's between our intellect and our heart, the idea of the marriage is the perfect union of all the disparate parts of us. The integration, if you will, of all of these parts of us. And so we see this marriage, everything's working, celebrating, everything's great, life energy, being consumed. And we start to find that maybe we're not feeling as much fun anymore. Maybe we're not feeling as much joy anymore. Then Mary, who represents our intuition, our longing, realizes that the spark is being depleted. And she goes to Jesus. Jesus, who is represented by represents our spiritual awareness. Jesus represents the highest part of ourselves, the place from which we long to live. And so Jesus ends up being who takes direction, takes over. So first, we have Mary apparently being somewhat in control and directing things. Our intellect, our intuition gets us so far. And then we start to realize there's something missing. So we go to our higher awareness. And then our higher awareness chooses whether or not it's going to activate the servants. What are the servants, you ask? Servants are our thoughts. They are the aspects of ourselves that are inherent, the powers that we have at our disposal to direct our life. We tend to think that there are 12 powers. I'm going to guess that there are more within us. But at Unity we speak about 12 powers that when they work together create this beautiful marriage. And those powers are our power of faith, our power of strength, our power of release, our power to create new life. They are our ability to order things, to put things in order. They are our ability to feel passion. They are our ability to discern and use wise judgment. Our ability to love. Our ability to speak, to form with our words. Our ability to imagine and create. Our ability to understand knowledge, intellectual knowledge, and our ability to be willing to apply that intellectual knowledge. 12 powers. So we take these powers, power of laughter, I think is one. We take these servants and we tell them to take the jars, 6 jars, and fill them with water. So we take our powers, we fill them, these jars, our receptacles, if you will, with water. We bring attention to them. And that universal solvent, water, which is life-giving, which is pure potential waiting to be transformed into something else, is energized. And a beautiful wine is created. And the wine represents, again, that life energy. And so we have life energy that is so noticeable and so tangibly different than our life without the direction of spiritual awareness, that people notice. And they say things like, wow, this is different. You're different. You're happier. You're more relaxed. Your life is a better party. And so I know it seems like, wow, what are you talking about, Rhona? I want you to lean into the idea that the wine is life, our life energy. And when we start to feel that our energy is depleting, as the wine did at that party, that we tune in to our intuition. And like Jesus, who represents our spiritual awareness, that we choose to direct our servants, those faculties within us, to fill us back up. And when we activate those powers within us, when we activate our faith, our strength, our love, our wisdom, our ability to let go, we transform. And the result is a richer, more flavorful, more juicy product. That is the message of turning water into wine. It is a message for all of us. And whether you take it at the literal level of being whole in community and participating and celebrating people's unions, and whether you take it as a metaphorical meaning of, if I see something's not working, I'm going to bring that to somebody's attention, and I'm not going to be attached to the answer, and I'm going to trust. Or if you take the metaphysical, which is, I am the bride and the bridegroom, and my life energy is represented by wine. Whichever of those three interpretations are for you, know that any one of them can transform your life. As Jana Stanfield's song says, I cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good I can do. Mary is the key to this story. She was the one who went and identified the problem, identified the opportunity. So I invite you to close your eyes with me if that is safe, as we consider this story in all of its forms. From a literal point of view, where are there times when I am reluctant to celebrate? Where are there times when I don't want to be part of a community? Is there an opportunity for me to engage more deeply? In my own life and in my own circumstances, are there places where I feel that I can't do any good? And instead, can I shift that thinking into what is the good that I can do? What is the gift that I can bring? What am I ready to step into? Even if I don't think that it's my time. where do I find that my energy is being depleted? What is my intuition telling me? And am I willing to direct the faculties within me, my thoughts, my emotions, my attitudes? Am I willing to allow my vessel to be filled? As I activate my spiritual awareness. So that I know that I can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary. That I can add to my life and to the life of the celebration around me. By activating my inner spiritual awareness.